Look closely at this meeting. It's a scene playing out in offices all over the world, but with a twist that's rewriting the rules of work. The person leading this pitch, that's Leo, the new digital marketing team lead. He's 25. The seasoned expert listening with that look of careful surprise. That's Sophie, a senior marketer with a decade of wins under her belt. She's 32. In the old playbook, experience leads, youth follows. But that playbook is officially out of date. So what happens when the younger leads the experienced, when the digital native manages the digital adaptive? This isn't a story about conflict. It's a story about reverse mentorship and some fascinating surprises. To understand this new dynamic, let's get to know our players. First, there's Leo. At 25, he's the newly appointed digital marketing team lead at the company Euro Innovate. Leo is a classic Gen Z leader, purpose-driven, fluent in the language of the internet, and an innate early adopter of new tech. He believes his work should make a tangible impact and isn't afraid to challenge the status quo to get there. But his brilliance is raw. Having entered the professional world during the pandemic, he missed some of that crucial in-person learning about navigating office politics and team dynamics. He's confident in his skills, but less experienced in managing people, especially those who have been in the game longer than he has. Then there's Sophie. At 32, she's the team's senior marketing specialist and a quintessential millennial professional. She's meticulous, strategic, and values a structured path for growth. Her caution isn't a fear of technology. It's a risk management strategy honed by years of seeing campaigns succeed and fail. She's mastered the complex established platforms, but is wary of jumping on trends without a clear data-backed reason. And as a millennial with a young family, her work-life balance isn't just a preference, it's a necessity she fiercely protects. Their story begins where most workplace friction does with a new assignment. Situation 1, boss TikTok isn't just for dancing. Leo's first big move as leader was to push the team into a new frontier, TikTok. For him, a digital native who grew up with the platform, it was a no-brainer. For Sophie, who had spent years mastering the intricate ecosystems of Google and Facebook ads, it felt like being asked to trade a surgeon's scalpel for a crayon. Leo, the data is clear. Our target demographics kids are on TikTok, which means they are hearing about it. We can't afford to ignore it. It's a discovery engine, not just a social network. Sophie, TikTok. We're a B2B software company. Our primary buyers are 45-year-old chief technology officers, not teenagers. What's the projected ROI on a dance challenge? I need to see a funnel. In their first team meeting on the new strategy, Leo lays out his vision. Leo, so that's the overview. Sophie, I want you to lead the research and build out a TikTok-first campaign strategy for the Q3 product launch. The room is quiet for a moment. Sophie chooses her words carefully, aiming for professional curiosity. Sophie, Leo, I appreciate the bold direction. I'm just trying to understand the strategy here. For a brand like ours, what is TikTok? Isn't it mostly for entertainment for kids dancing? How does that translate to qualified lead generation? It was a fair question born from a decade of experience focused on measurable results, but to Leo's ears, it sounded like a roadblock. He took a breath, trying to hide his impatience. Leo patiently, but with a hint of let me explain the internet to you energy. It's not about the dancing. That's just the surface. It's about the algorithm. It's an interest graph, not a social graph. We can use educational content, short-form tutorials, behind-the-scenes engineering content. It's a whole culture. The goal isn't direct conversion. It's brand affinity and education. Just spend an hour a day on the For You page for the rest of the week. Observe, you'll see what I mean. Sophie agreed, though still skeptical. But as she scrolled, she started to see it. Lawyers explaining complex case law in 60 seconds. Surgeons showing off new medical devices. Coders sharing programming hacks. Leo was right. It wasn't just dancing. And here we find the first lesson of this new dynamic. For Gen Z, digital platforms aren't just tools, they're environments. They are fluent in the culture, not just the function. For millennials, trust in a new tool isn't given. It has to be earned through a clear path to ROI. The only way forward is for experience to become open to the insights of the native. Situation 2. Boss, do you need me to review the slides? The next challenge arrived in the form of a PowerPoint deck, or rather a Google Slides presentation. Leo was preparing for a crucial meeting with a legacy partner, a company whose CEO was famously old school and numbers driven. Leo's strength was his modern aesthetic. His slides were beautiful, minimalist, text-powerful imagery, bold fonts. They looked like they belonged at a tech conference, but they were also a little light on substance. Sophie happened to see a preview that Leo was working on. Her internal alarm bells, calibrated by years of sitting in stuffy boardrooms, started ringing. She waited until the end of the day and approached his desk. Sophie: "Hey Leo, that deck for the Sterling meeting looks sharp, super modern. I was just thinking, the execs at Sterling are very, very data-driven. I remember from last year's review, their CEO practically lives in spreadsheets. Do you think we should maybe add a summary slide with the Q2 performance data right up front? And perhaps build out the logical flow from problem to solution a bit more explicitly? I'd be happy to take a pass at it just to add some of that traditional structure they like." Leo, slightly defensive, surprised, review my slides. Why is my employee offering to fix my work? Does she not think I can handle this? This feels like she's undermining me. It was a moment of friction. Leo, like many new leaders, felt his authority being questioned. His generation is often sensitive to feedback they perceive as overly critical, but he was also pragmatic. He remembered Sophie's insight on the TikTok project. He hesitated, then nodded. Leo? Okay, yeah, sure, take a look. Let me know what you think. Sophie didn't change his design. She didn't touch his modern aesthetic. Instead, she re-architected the story. She added the data-rich appendix. She clarified the value proposition in language a 60-year-old executive would understand. She built a narrative bridge from Leo's innovative vision to the partner's bottom-line reality. When Leo saw the revised version, the light bulb didn't just go on, it lit up the entire room. This is the second lesson: experience isn't about being old. It's about pattern recognition. Sophie had seen this movie before and knew how it ended. For Gen Z leaders, learning to listen to that experience isn't a sign of weakness. It's a strategic advantage. Millennial wisdom is the invaluable software that can run on Gen Z's powerful new hardware. Situation 3. Boss, I need my work-life balance. But the biggest clash wasn't over strategy, it was over the clock. Leo, fueled by youthful enthusiasm and a life less cluttered with obligations, saw work as fluid. An idea at 9 p.m. was an idea worth sharing via a rapid-fire series of texts. Hey Sophie, just had a sick idea for the TikTok campaign. What if we did a day in the life of an engineer series? Could be huge for recruitment too. Thoughts? For Sophie, whose evenings were a carefully orchestrated symphony of dinner bath time and bedtime stories, these pings were a disruption. It wasn't the work itself, it was the intrusion into a jealously guarded space. This is a core value for her generation. Studies show a vast majority of millennials consider work-life balance a top priority essential for their mental health and productivity. After a particularly busy week of late-night pings, Sophie knew she had to address it. She scheduled a brief one-on-one with Leo the next morning. Sophie, Leo, I value your passion and the ideas you're bringing to the team. It's fantastic. I just need to ask for something to help me manage my focus. After 6 p.m. is my dedicated family time. If something is a true building is on fire emergency, of course, please call me. But for ideas and non-urgent questions, could we stick to email or our shared Slack channel? That way I can address them first thing in the morning when I'm fresh. Leo was genuinely taken aback. He wasn't being demanding. In his mind, he was just being connected. In his world, asynchronous communication is a sign of flexibility, not pressure. He had never considered that his late-night burst of creativity could be a source of stress for someone else. Leo, oh wow, okay, I honestly never thought of it that way. Of course, that makes total sense. I'll stick to email after hours. I'm sorry about that. And here's the third and perhaps most critical lesson: boundaries must be communicated to be respected. For millennials, work-life balance is a non-negotiable component of well-being. For Gen Z leaders, learning that different life stages have different needs is a cornerstone of developing the empathetic leadership their generation prizes. Clear communication isn't conflict, it's clarification. Climax synergy under pressure. Their relationship, now built on a foundation of mutual respect, was about to face its ultimate test. 2 hours before a massive company-wide campaign launch, the API integration with the client's sales platform failed. Data wasn't flowing. All the leads they were about to generate were heading for a black hole. Senior leadership was on the phone. The client was panicking. This is where the old playbook would have a seasoned manager take control, but in this new dynamic, something different happened. Leo didn't freeze. He dove in. With the digital fluency of a native, he was live chatting with developers on a forum, scanning lines of code and diagnosing the problem. He found a workaround in 20 minutes, a solution that would have taken a formal support ticket hours, if not days, to resolve. But fixing the technology was only half the battle. Leo was a brilliant problem solver, but he wasn't yet a crisis manager. He was visibly stressed, unsure how to calm the furious client or manage the expectations of his own panicked vice president. That's when Sophie stepped in. She wasn't an expert on APIs, but she was an expert on people. Hey, Sophie. Okay, Leo, you handle the tech fix. I've got the people. I'm drafting an email to the client now. Total transparency, confidence, and a new timeline. For the VP, here's what you're going to say. She became the steady hand on the tiller while Leo was the genius in the engine room. She prepped him for the call with his boss giving him the exact phrases to project calm and control. They worked side by side, a seamless fusion of technical agility and emotional intelligence. The campaign launched only slightly delayed and was a massive success. That night they weren't manager and employee, they were a team. After the crisis was averted, Leo looked at Sophie with a new profound understanding. Leo, I could have never handled that client call. She didn't just save the campaign, she saved me. Sophie. I would have been stuck on the phone with tech support for hours. He fixed it in minutes. We would have failed without him. The next week, Leo went to HR. He didn't just praise Sophie, he proposed a new company-wide initiative, a formal reverse mentorship program where Gen Z's digital intuition would be paired with the situational wisdom of experienced millennials and Gen Xers. Their story reveals the most powerful workplace trend of all synergistic power. It's the realization that leadership isn't a title and experience isn't defined by age. When generations stop competing over who knows best and start collaborating on what works best, they don't just solve problems, they create a future that's smarter, faster, and more human than ever before. Conclusion. The story of Leo and Sophie shows that age doesn't define a role and a title doesn't hold a monopoly on wisdom. The most important question in today's workplace isn't who is the boss, but what can we learn from each other? So we want to hear from you. Have you ever been a boss to someone older or been reverse mentored by someone younger? Share your story in the comments below. Tag a colleague who needs to see this. If you found this story helpful, show some love by hitting that like button and make sure you're subscribed to the Gen Shift channel to catch our next episode.